All right, may as well. Mic checked. That's what I thought. Windows turned it down because, of course, it did. All right, that's working. That's working. It's working. Chat's working. Well, chat looks like it's working. We're gonna assume chat's working. Fucking finished, guys. Cool. Now the doctor won't even be able to find out if I have MS because the fucking insurance won't pay. MS might be the best goddamn thing that could happen to me right now. Fuck, fuck everything. If you right, take my life tonight. Chances are that I might station out of sight, contemplating suicide. Just losing my mind. Wish someone will tell me I'm fine. Nothing's alright. Nothing is fine. I'm running and I'm crying. I'm crying. Ah, ah, ah. It's my life. It's gonna be the whole stream. This is what I'm gonna look like for the rest of my life. Stop breathing on camera, just like this. I genuinely don't even have the energy to do anything if nobody's here. I just feel like turning my stream on is some fucking kind of control I have over my life. Part of me wants to just go ahead and explain what happened, whether or not anyone's going to show up or not, just for the archive of it. Part of me knows that as soon as I start talking, I'm just going to bust into tears and I'm not going to be able to say anything. So fucking sick of this shit. 19 years the fuck old, and that little fucking slut ruined my life. I got fucking molested by a fucking child. I'm a criminal. Guess I shouldn't say child, she was molesting me. I can't live it down. My entire life at that point, not like I had my life figured out to support myself before I was 19. Had something to come back to after I got out of fucking prison. That was my entire life ripped away from me by one stupid fucking cunt. I don't like the way I'm talking about the bitch. I tell you guys, from a purely philosophical standpoint, just for the realness of having the balls to say it because someone's got to. When there are people, and I know I'm not the only one, who look at the distress of their lives and say, would it actually be better if I died? Would the world actually be better if I committed suicide? Not because the world would be better without me, not because I'm the problem in the world, but because just me specifically in 2017, I was handcuffed and taken to the doctor to see if I needed to put into the hospital for being suicidal. And that doctor, after talking to me in handcuffs, sent the police the fuck away, told them to get me out of cuffs, and said they were lucky I let them get me there. And by the end of it, the doctor said he had no right to tell me what to do with it. He said I had the right to choose to end my life by this point, and no one had any authority to tell me otherwise. And that's actually been conveyed to local law enforcement by this point. Since then, um, it was a different law enforcement agency. As much as I bitch about law enforcement in general, like it's such a low bar, but local law enforcement is above the bar, and most of their problems are because of people that are not law enforcement officers, but not entirely. But you're not gonna see our officers in YouTube videos like you will others. You'll see our officers in YouTube videos like they're dancing in the elevator. Um, but I want to say all that to be completely fair. Most of the problem with law enforcement here is politics, is politicians, judges, and prosecutors, which do not be mistaken, are politicians who care about the vote and their job, not your innocence. And I know I've talked about that. I know I've talked about the judge being on a committee and stuff and being on a platform of election for sex offenses and being hard on sex offenders. Um, she shouldn't have been my judge. That was absolutely biased, and I was guilty from the time she was assigned. And anyway, that's not the point right now. Um, but with all of that, I've been told by the doctor that the sane feeling for me to have in my life, which was better then, was to want to end my life. That if I didn't want to end my life, or at least if I enjoyed living, if I wanted to keep living, um, if I he didn't see it as being extremely sane to think that I had a way out. He took his time more than any other doctor, and he talked with me. And he asked me about my perceptions and about my experiences. And he looked at it through my eyes. He said logically, he didn't see a way out. And because of that, nobody but me had any right over my life in that regards. And that's a professional fucking opinion. One that I respect not because I like it, but because it's honest. It's not being bound by, oh, but we can't tell people that they should kill themselves because they're worth something. Maybe I am worth something. My worth isn't being appreciated, and for my worth, I am being beyond mistreated by society. And not just society, but the people close to me. And have been for my life. Um, so it doesn't matter what I'm worth in that regard. If my worth is getting me beaten into the ground with no escape, my worth isn't the matter of the question. It's a matter of, yes, I'm worth something. So am I worth allowing myself to be treated this way? And if there is genuinely no escape, which as a sex offender I can't just up and leave. Um, if there's genuinely no escape, is my life worth my life? Um, and that's the discussion we had. It was very honest. It was very straightforward. There was no veil. There was no privacy. There was no secrecy. There was no disconnect between us because he actually wanted to see. Took 2 or 3 hours, and he said that's what he said. He said no, like you'd be crazy to say anything else. He said he would be dead a long, long time ago. And obviously that goes, and I don't think he said it. I think he avoided saying it because he knew it would be sensitive. Um that goes into basically saying, you're a lot fucking stronger than me. I couldn't do that. And he said something to that vein, but he also kind of said like, I know that doesn't mean a fucking thing. But what it does mean is that in your situation, you have more of a chance to survive than I would. I wouldn't survive. I would take my life. That's what he said. And he didn't bandy words about it. He was direct, forward, and honest. And I've had issues. I've been trying to find help, and I call warm lines, cold lines, dead lines, live lines, suicide lines, lifelines, whatever. But I'm not ending my life tonight, so they don't care. And if I was, all they would do is send me to the hospital. And I have talked to local law enforcement several times regarding this, trying to find help. And I've told officers and dispatch both exactly what I've just told you guys, because I want help. If I'm trying to find help, it is stupid for me not to say yes. The general professional opinion is that wanting to end my life is actually the healthy mindset right now, because I'm not in control of what can make my life better, and I don't have a means to find that control. And it's extremely rare. It doesn't happen much, and that makes it very hard to help with, and it makes it very hard for professionals to even recognize. And that's been a big struggle because we like to believe that Dave, A Child Called It, is just a book. But it's not just a book. And yeah, he got out. He survived. He made it out. One man, and without people that did stuff, which I didn't have, he wouldn't have. It would have destroyed him. And we like to believe that's just a book. That just happened to that one person. It didn't. That's why he wrote that book, is because it didn't just happen to one person. One of the people that it happened to got out and got a voice to say something about it. But instead of, as a population, us seeing, oh, hey, maybe if this is happening to one person, this is a problem that's happening to people, we said, oh, Man, Dave, you went through something entirely unique. We are so glad you got out. No person can go through that, should go through that. And we see it as just something he went through. And I think that diminishes his story, which is, frightening. But so I've told police stuff like that here, and they've even said like, I mean, we're not gonna handcuff you and take you to the hospital unless you say you want us to, or that you say you're going to kill yourself right this moment. Um, and I said, frankly, if I'm gonna tell you that, you're gonna not gonna have the moment to put cuffs on me, and even if you do, like, if I'm actually going to be able to kill myself, you putting me in cuffs is only gonna make that easier in a lot of ways. And in most part, when I've said stuff like that, they've been like, oh, you know what? From everything you're telling us, we get what you're saying. Because I'm not at risk of killing myself. People are wondering when. And back to where that started, everybody knows I should kill myself. Everybody knows I should be dead. Everybody knows they would not live through what I'm living through. But it doesn't change anything. They just see an alive person struggling that's eventually going to get through their struggles because there's always a light at the end of it. Nobody talks about. Nobody even talks about when a Disney star who's getting ready to become a more famous star gets only accused of something sexual, and he's seen people that are on the sex offender registry, normal people, and kills himself, takes his own life before he's even arraigned, as far as I remember. I don't remember who it was. It may have been just after arraignment, after he bonded out, but he was very clear. It's a trap. It's inescapable. The moment you're accused, it doesn't even matter if you're ever found not guilty. You're done for life. You can't recover from that. And maybe he could have recovered to a normal life and not stardom, but his point being made too is that maybe he could have recovered to some degree, but someone that just has a job at McDonald's can't. Someone who doesn't have that, a teenager, won't. Just simply won't. That was someone that people knew and left that message, and you have to search for it. You have to find it. It didn't get talked about, and that's also why I'm still alive. Because as much as part of me thinks, because he clearly thought outside of just he couldn't survive, he wrote a message about it, about not just himself, about why, about really why. And he clearly thought that maybe his death would get that message out. It didn't. So there's that constant question of like, is suicide just actually the way to make the world better because it would make people talk? I'm not even a relatively well known streamer. No, sure the hell wouldn't. So I'm here for Armageddon and more. Because no matter how much the fuck it hurts me, no matter how much more it destroys me, until it sends me into the ground, I can't do anything if I'm. I've seen more important people than me try to give their lives for a message of just getting people to see that this is ending people's lives. And it got buried because we want sex offenders to kill themselves. And that's the big thing is it wouldn't make any difference because That is ultimately, we want sex offenders to kill themselves. That is the way the law is written. In this state, sex offenders convicted after 2014 now can no longer apply for food stamps. So they basically can't work. Any disabilities they get in prison are not disabilities. They can't get food stamps. And they're writing up legislation that sex offenders in general can't get disability. I'm lucky that I can get food stamps, I guess. And that's stupid. It is stupid as a citizen of the United States of America that I am lucky that I can get food stamps. That I'm lucky that I can put food in my belly, and I know that extends so much further than the subject I'm talking about. I know I'm talking about a huge amount of people that are not lucky enough to put food in their stomach, and yes, that's also my point. It's stupid. We don't give a fuck about each other. We give a fuck about what people care about, and we care about what makes us look better, and we don't care about things that make other people better. In fact, more specifically, we care about things that make us look better because it's what everyone says we're supposed to care about, regardless and sometimes specifically because of the detriment of others. That is stupid. It's not ignorant. It's not retarded. It's not deficient. All of those are things that are able to be remedied. It's stupid. And as we all know, can't fix stupid. So, I went to the shoe store the other day. And the manager, Jessica, was quite nice. She helped me look around, helped me figure out my size, helped me look at boots, helped me look at some stuff online, talked to me about ordering stuff, etc., etc., etc. And I wasn't ready to get anything that day because I was putting an outfit together. I was looking around different places. All perfectly fine. Seemed fine. You know, she got to know some personal things about her, about me. She told me some stuff about her. You know, a little bit nicer than customer service. You know, it was more personal than customer, but not like overly personal. I think it was just that I was clearly having a day, and that made me ramble a bit about my problems, and she was being what I perceived as pretty nice about it. Now I don't know how to view anything. I don't know if it was the next night or a couple days later, and I don't know if this was between one day and 2 days. But I went in again. There were a couple other girls there instead of there was no manager, just these other couple of employees, and they were absolutely freaking out. Something was going on. One of them was on the phone freaking out with somebody, saying something had just happened. So they were scared. The other one was in the back room crying. So I'm looking around, and I was hoping to ask for more advice. So I'm not really looking at much of anything. I'm staying, probably 20, 30 feet away from the desk, but kind of waiting for things to calm down, keeping an eye that direction to see if I might get a chance to ask for some advice or if I'm just going to have to come back another day, right? And, so, the one girl gets off the phone, the other one comes out there talking, and I'm still waiting because they're still talking about what's going on, trying to figure out what to do, so I'm waiting patiently. They're absolutely in distress. Turns out it was a run-of-the-mill scammer, and these young kids just genuinely thought it was real. Scammer trying to say, hey, I'm your boss's 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 boss, and if you don't give me the codes right now, You're going to be fired right now, right now. We're sending people there right now to deal with you. You're going to be in such big trouble. No, you can't talk to your manager first. Part of me was like, that's silly. But the majority of me was, these two are genuinely scared. So I was giving them space to deal with that, and trying to be patient, whatever. And because it's not about me thinking it's silly, it's about them being genuinely scared by it, right? Um and the reason I know about that is because one of them looked up at me and said, "This guy wants to know what's going on." I can tell. I looked at her and said, "Oh no, I'm so sorry. I wasn't really trying to listen or anything. I was just waiting until I might be able to get some advice." I said, "But like, I mean, you guys sound like you're stressed out. I'm concerned." And she's like, and she started talking about what had happened, and I don't know if I said, you're welcome to tell me or anything, but she started to open up about it. And so I listened. I put shopping for shoes. I put my goal as a customer in this store all the way over there because this girl, one of them had been crying, one of them was freaking out on the phone, and they wanted to unload to somebody about this, clearly. I'm okay with that. I support that. I believe that I was doing the kind thing by giving them space to talk. So they tell me, yada yada, we got this call, we don't know if it's real or not. As I start to hear it, I start calming down because I know there's no actual danger now. The manager's on her way, Jessica's on her way. Everything's actually fine as long as the girls hadn't actually started to, and even then, it would be fine. Nobody was in danger. And so while they were waiting on Jessica to show up, I started talking to them. I'm like, yeah, I grew up we used phones all the time, and we got these scam calls all the time. We're used to them. Don't worry, don't stress out. This is fine. This is 100% a scam. They say, oh, the manager said it's a scam too. I'm not trying to make them sound pitiful. I'm just saying that they were still upset. They were expressing, oh, we feel like the manager said that too, but we're still scared. So I was trying to. You don't need to be scared. You know, breathe it out, wait on the manager to get here, get it sorted out. I don't think I even mentioned shoes until Jessica showed up, and after that sometime. Jessica gets there, they start talking it out. They were still talking to me. Jessica said hi, was nice and everything. I gave kind of my insight. I'm like, yeah, no, they looked really, really scared. I was really concerned. Um, whatever, yada yada, so on. Um, Beyond people being scared, everything seemed fine. I headed out. I don't remember if that was the night that I went to try to order shoes and couldn't afford the shipping, or if I went in another night hoping to order shoes and couldn't afford the shipping. Um, but today I went in there on the way home, and as I'm walking through the door, there's Jessica standing there. I'm like, cool. Um, Maybe she, can get the shoe I want ordered, etc. Um, I'm excited of this, and see her look at one of the employees that had been there with her, and she that employee suddenly just like zoomed off back, and I only noticed it kind of in retrospect. Um, I walked in, hey, how's it going? And Jessica starts walking towards me and starts getting this look on her face, and she gets real close to me and she says, "Hey, we got to have a talk." What? She says, "You can't be saying stuff like that to my girls." What? I just I just got here. She says you can't be making comments like that to my kids though. I'm like, your kids? And eventually I do realize like, okay, she doesn't mean her girls, her children, even though she's saying my girls, my children. So, you know, those of us on this stream who think about things a bit critically when someone says referring to not children and not their children, to a sex offender, hey, you can't talk to my children like that. Well, they are not children, nor your offspring. They are, in fact, your employees. And it's kind of, I don't think it's cool to refer to your employees as your children if they're not your children. Wild take, maybe? I don't know. Let me know. So eventually I realized she's talking about her employees, but I still have no clue what she's talking about. So this goes on for a little bit like, hey, what are you going on about? What? Like, tell me what's wrong, and yeah, I'm happy to apologize for misspeaking if I misspoke and move on like civilized adults. No. She had sent the girl back to call the cops as soon as I was walking in the door. And she starts moving towards me. Eventually she says, you can't be making lewd comments to my girls. I said, what kind of lewd comments? She said, well, I heard you say something about a bullwhip. I said, a bullwhip? You know? Especially in a shoe store talking about leather shoes. That could be anything from, oh yeah, I had this leather bullwhip, which I have had, which I didn't discuss, so it wasn't that, to, oh man, did your boss crack the whip for that? Which I don't recall saying, but I wouldn't recall saying because that's small talk. So I'm like, bullwhip? What do you mean a remark? Something about a bullwhip? What? Well, I heard you say other things, and they said you said other things too. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, the cops are already on their way. I already called their cops, so if you want to stay and make it a problem, you can stay and make it a problem. So now you're threatening me, because that's not saying, hey, you can talk to the cops if you want. That's, hey, I'm gonna make this a problem. So you're actually, in my eyes, threatening a physical altercation. And obviously at this point, I'm walking the fuck out of the store, and she's still, like, hurting me and talking to me about cops and shit and making threats and shit. And I get outside, I call the cops, and I'm like, hey, so is this legit? Like, they said, yeah, you've been trespassed from the property. You can't go there anymore. I said, so she was threatening me there. Well, you can't go there anymore. I'm like, yeah, but I want to file a report about her threatening me. They're like, yeah, so you're banned from the property. Right. So I get on my way, I go over to my friend's house, and the fucking cops call me. Hey, we want to make sure you know that you're trespassed from this property. You want to tell us what happened there? I'm like, she's a fucking bitch. I'm not going to say a fucking thing nice about her. If you want to hear me talk about her and tell you exactly what a fucking bitch she is, I'll tell you what a fucking bitch she is. Was what it boiled down to, really. I certainly didn't swear that much because I didn't feel the need to, but if I'm boiling the point down, that's what it was. And I'm pretty sure that the cop didn't hear anything different than that. I said, look, y'all pressing charges? He said, I said, are you fucking pressing charges about something with this? Is there a fucking problem? Well, if you go back, there's going to be charges. That's not what the fuck I asked you, motherfucker. And eventually, he stopped being authoritarian and telling me, you can't go back, you can't go back. I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck about her or her store. Do I need to defend myself? Because I'm just going to put her store on blast and get it shut the fuck down. Which he's like, well, it's a pretty big store. It's a pretty big deal. I don't give a fuck. That's what you said about the fucking business owner of the fucking smoke shop that fucking started threatening me and kicked me out of the store over the same type of BS. Saying that I was being sexual towards his employees because he found out I'm a fucking sex offender. Guess what? That motherfucker isn't allowed to own a business in town anymore. Sat here told the cops, motherfucker threatens me. You guys need to do something about it. Well, he's a business owner. He's a good guy. He owns a business. He wouldn't do that. He's a business owner. Business. Because business owners can't break the law. I said, all right, cool. He's not going to be allowed to own a business in this fucking town anymore. And I've been doing shit like that since I was 13, and I don't understand. There are people who understand that if I say something the fuck is gonna happen in this town, it really, really is. And I might hurt for it. I might go through shit for it. But it really is gonna happen. Fucking the internet company started coming in, got bought out by these fuckers that thought they were too goddamn big for their britches. And they said they're gonna come in here and fucking they got the city hall and stuff and got a contract written up that they're gonna start limiting how much internet we have and charging overages on our main high speed internet in town. The mayor held election meetings in my house when my grandmother was alive. Mayor at the time, I don't think she's still mayor. So I gave her a call and I said, hey, so there's this thing that's going on with the internet. Yeah, heard about it. And so, you've asked me my opinion about younger people in town, technology in town, stuff like that. I'm younger people to her. Yeah, I said, well, this is an important one. And it's not a matter of opinion. It's a matter of you don't want this in town. I explained to her what this would do to residents, what this would do to businesses, what this would do just to her because she is mayor and everything relies on internet. She said, I don't like that. Then I called some of the retired teachers, have all their retired teachers meetings in town. I said, hey, so you guys might want to know about this. I know some of you don't really use much internet. My grandma's best friend thinking about getting internet. I said, so, maybe wait, talk to people about this and maybe wait. You haven't been too worried about it for your whole life. If you're only kind of thinking about it, I wouldn't do it. This is why it's bad. And I was able to communicate all of these to different people. So there's the mayor who is pretty smart. She's gotta keep up with, at least when I say, hey, so this. She's like, okay, that's number up, number down. I can put it in business terms. My grandma's best friend, she's a teacher, doesn't know much about technology, but also is a teacher and invested in learning. So I could put it in learning terms. And then with, say, my best friend's mom, who had switched from having this shit with satellite internet companies and switched to real internet because of it. Well, I just told her that. And she's a member of Bikers Against Child Abuse, so she started talking to Baca and all the guys in Baca that have their patches and their leather and the motorcycles. So we got teachers, we got politicians, we got bikers all saying, hey, we do kind of like our internet the way it is. I talked to the internet company the other day, and the person I talked to has never heard of that company or any plan to do our internet that way. It is such an old thought now that people there now don't know it was ever a thing, and it was only a few years ago. The older cops, too. I've told the older cops straight up, like, hey, you guys know you don't protect, and you guys know that I've made this town better because I put my fucking life into this town because I have nothing better to do with it. And I have nowhere I can go. Try to arrest me. You know that I do not have the rights of a citizen in this country. You know that I do not have the protections of a citizen in this country. Try once, ever, to arrest me. And you'll be making a decision to leave and take my life. Because I won't threaten their life. It's not worth their life. It's absolutely worth my life to make a point. And I can make them make that choice. It is very, very hard to move dead weight. It is very, very hard to keep alive someone who is trying to force you to kill them. And I don't bandy words with these cops. Because why should I? They're perfectly welcome if they think that I'm saying something wrong. Find out. Because it won't be their body that ends up being on the line. And they recognize that, and that's why I say they're better than a lot of law enforcement still, because at least, and especially the older ones, they recognize that. They recognize, hey, no, this is a person that is standing on everything. Absolutely everything and will not be pushed aside. Either they dislike me enough to take my life, or they don't. I'm not committing the crimes that they're saying, and to some degree it doesn't matter, because I'm not a citizen. I do not have the protections, the liberties, or the freedoms, or the guarantees, or the rights of a citizen to such a degree that my citizenship has been eroded, and I am certainly cannot be considered a citizen of the United States. And yeah, that makes a lot of very interesting points. Like, but I have food stamps and Medicaid. Yep, sure do. Didn't say everything's been fully eroded. Sure, those are things that citizens have the rights to. Hypothetically, only citizens. But having Medicaid does not make you a citizen. Being registered, it does not make you a citizen. In fact, we have recognizably non-citizens registered, and it's a big problem because they keep trying to extradite people back every 90 days to force them to fill out paperwork. And it's a fucking problem. So a status of benefit or a status of restriction doesn't make one a citizen. They are impositions and benefits that citizens have, but they are also clearly impositions that non-citizens can have. So if a non-citizen can be registered, a non-citizen can by merit have food stamps. It's not such a status that makes one a citizen. Citizenship is a contract that you forcefully sign at birth and basically can't get out of. But it gives your government a legal responsibility to give you all rights, representation, and freedoms and protections of a citizen. There are clauses for some of those to be removed. We've made some carve outs for some of that. We've also gone the other way and made sure more and more people can be considered citizens because we were fucking backwards and stupid. But okay, fine. You can lose your right to bear arms and still be a citizen. Okay. You can lose your right to vote and still be a citizen. Democracy, okay, fine. We're a federalist nation. We're not a democracy. This is a republic. Voting is really fucking not democratic voting anyway. Fine, who even cares about voting rights? I can get behind those. But I've lost protection of law. I've had people this year call the police and threaten me to the police. The police said it's not their jurisdiction, when in fact I actually talked to prosecutors, judges, and defense attorneys. And because I live in this town and my computer that I received the threats on is in this town, it absolutely is in their jurisdiction. While at the same time, the same people making these threats told them that I was making passes at a minor on a website that is 18 plus anyway, so presumably anyone there is 18 plus. That there might be charges pressed about that if there's any evidence that's brought forward. Now, they were also forward enough to show up at my house investigatively to see how I would react before they told me what they were going to tell me, which was, hey, these people aren't communicating with us after the fact. We tried to get back in touch with them and say, hey, we need those emails of screenshots and evidence, and they're not communicating with us. Because they came to tell me I was being accused. So they came in, they said, you're being accused of this. Excuse me? Said this. They said these people claim to have screenshots of you being naked on a camera with minors, and like, well, you know, if you get a screenshot with a face, you'll know right away because we all know each other. And if you get any other kind of screenshot, give me a call and I'll go in a room with a guy and we can figure it out right then and there. And I looked them all dead in the eye. There was a female standing right there. I said, I suppose obviously not you, ma'am. I'm, just not being sensitive about it. And I was just straightforward. They said, oh, yeah. They all just, they didn't really respond to it. They just, yeah, that is accurate. That is what could and would be done. And they, at least two of them knew enough of interaction with me to know that me saying, oh, yeah, I dare you, was not an indicator of guilt, which unfortunately it is trained to be an indicator of guilt. But there were at least two officers there that knew better. And I was like, yeah, yeah, bring that evidence and let's do evidence. Let's do it. Um he knew that for me that comes from my history of just being fucked over and fucked metaphorically and literally, repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. Um, and we talked about that, and the gal looked over, said, "Is that your laptop?" I said, "Sure is." Right at it. I said, "That's the website you're talking about too." I said, "I sent you all screenshots of all the threats that were made against me, and I sent them right away while I was on the phone with the dispatcher. Y'all gonna press charges? That's not our jurisdiction." I said, "Okay." That you understand that there will be no charges pressed against me. It's not acceptable. And I was vehement. I was not happy. I dressed them down. I said, "You show up here to tell me I'm being accused when I've sat here and while I was on the phone with you guys reporting threats against me, you told me that these people threatening me were actively on the other line attempting to swat me. And you're saying you're not going to investigate that really or do anything about that to see if that state's prosecutor wants to pick it up. Maybe, possibly, but they'll probably never see it. You're going to show up at my house with accusations after all of that." Said you will never, ever see charges for this. Because if you do, it will be hell. Not chaos, not anger. Absolute hell on earth. Because I would take as many lives with me as I could, and I made it very clear that my goal would be death and that I would make my point with me. They took it all in stride. And I called a little while later, month and a half later. I said, "Hey, I was wondering if I can get a hold of this report, to see if the charges I'm trying to get pressed against these people are going anywhere." And she said, "Oh, no, I see the whole report. I see, yeah, this happened. You were accused of this." She said, "None of it's been sent." She says, "And that there's still no evidence against you that's been sent in by these people either." Um, but they're not going to be charged. And they went so far as to find my family's names and addresses, and they threatened my 8-year-old niece by name and address, and they're not going to get charged because I'm a fucking sex offender. And that's with what I consider very good law enforcement in this country compared to the rest. It's a very low bar. That is still far below what I think we should expect from our law enforcement. And it's above the bar. It's well above the bar in this country. And I keep thinking, I get more and more bold about how I talk about this stuff and who I talk to it about. Law enforcement professionals, mental health people, everyone. I keep thinking eventually they're gonna take me in as a rebel. But if there's one thing going for anything, it's that the authorities that I've talked to, for the most part, either are already cowed by the system and don't know how to say, well, you're a fucking rebel, fuck you, because by the time you're pointing out truth to them, they only know how to be scared. Or willing to say, hey, I'm not the one that can do something, but you might have a point. Now, we can, and I probably will at length eventually get into the nature of saying I'm not the one that can do something, it's not my job. You know, I don't know. I'm not gonna pass a burning building and hear screaming and say, I don't see any firemen, it's not my job. And I think plenty of people would. But the problem with that is, I think plenty of people would think those words. Where are the firemen? I can't do this. It's not my job. It's not what I'm doing. It's not what I'm supposed to do. That's sickening. If you decide you're not going into the building burning, that's the burning building, that's fine. Don't go in because it's just fucking dangerous. And even to save the life of another person, it is dangerous and probably not intelligent, and nobody is going to judge you. But I've had this philosophical statement, and I've got or discussion, and people will say things like, well, there's firemen to do that. I mean, the firemen aren't going to be here for half an hour. Well, I hope they get here faster. I mean, I don't know what to do. That's bad morals. That's doing a fine thing for an absolutely terrible reason. If you pass by that burning building and you stop and you look and you say, and you hear screaming and you think, can I help? No, I really am not equipped to enter a building burning and do anything. Can I help in any other way? Do I hear sirens? Can I make sure fire department's on the way? Can I look around and see if there's something I can do? Spend that 10 seconds and keep moving, because there's nothing you see that you can do, and you are perfectly justified to just not want to walk into a burning building. Yes. But the problem is that people say, well, that's what firemen do. But that's the wrong reason, and the reason matters. In Buddhism, see, we're going into just all philosophy here. Buddhism, we talk about right action, right speech, right thought, etc. Right thought. There are the right things to do. There are the right things to say. There are also the right thoughts to have about those things that you do and say. It matters why you're doing something and what you're thinking. Because those reasonings is what builds an actual moral foundation in humanity. Because that same person who says, well, that's a fireman's job, isn't going to help an old lady across the street because it's just not their job. But that person who's going to take 10 seconds to think, can I do anything? I really can't. I do hear sirens. I don't see anybody in a place that I can help them. I've got to keep going. There's nothing I can do here. Person's going to help the old lady across the street. You know, that person will, you know, help someone that they see trapped. Because it's not about, is it their job? It's about, am I able to help? So both can come to the conclusion, perfectly correct conclusion. No, there's no reason for me to stay here at this burning building and try to intercede. But in a situation where they're capable of helping and where maybe they should help, one of them is going to realize that because they're stopping to say, can I help? Should I help? Is it reasonable for me to help? And the other one is going to look around and say, well, who's supposed to be helping? And if we're always looking for someone else that's supposed to be helping, then we're never helping. We're actually never doing our job. It is our job to help. There are excuses not to help. There are reasons not to help. There are there are perfectly valid reasons not to help. That's why I use a burning building. If a 3-story building is on fire and I hear screaming on the top floor, but I'm in a tank top and shorts and I'm not going to make it through the door, the only thing that I will do entering that house is put another body in that house for the firemen to try to get out, living or dead. I see a ranch house with one room on fire. I hear screaming from an area that I think I can get to, however destructively, that I think I can get to. Yeah, let's go. I will tear your house down to save your life, and you're actually allowed to do that. Actually, um, there are carve outs if you are in good faith trying to save somebody's life and you cause them injury or damage their property, but it was genuinely provably in good faith to save their life, such as their house was on fire and I heard screaming and I didn't think it was a television. So yes, I axed out the window with the wood axe that I saw next to the house and tore through the wall as much as I could so that I could get a person out. One, that house is on fire anyway, but beyond that, you will not be held accountable for that damage. And I would hope the homeowner wouldn't try to. But yeah, so yeah, they're, and that's the thing, and that's still a, on the scale of probably not going to be able to help, probably going to make the problem worse, to you really should be helping and you're an asshole if you don't. That ranch house is still probably over here. It's probably still like, you might make this worse. But there's the person who's just going to be like, fireman's going to get that. And there's the person that's going to say, can I do something? Because this and this is zero. There's nothing that can be done. This is maybe 5% of people passing by, 3% of people passing by might be able to help. You can multiply 0 infinitely without getting to 3, without getting to 1, without getting to 0.1. So at that 3%, if we're all thinking, well, it's just someone else's job, then an infinite amount of us are ignoring that we might be able to save a life. I'm not okay with that. If 1,000 people pass a house with one room on fire and nobody tries to help, and there's not emergency vehicles, etc., already there, like they're sure someone's in danger, 1,000 people pass by and nobody tries to help, I'm not okay with that. It might be 1 out of 1,000. Might be 2. It's not going to be 50, but it needs to be one. Because all of those people, every thousand, should have at least a moment to think, am I capable of helping? And then assess the danger. And then decide if they think they should try. And it is fine to not put yourself in that situation. There are people who volunteer to do that. But when we pass something like that, we should consider that it's an option. We should take the time to think, I could make that choice. There is merit to choosing that because there is merit in the life that is being consumed. There's an infinite number of reasons not to do that, not to go into the building. There's also an infinite more reasons than zero not to go in. Having trouble speaking. I'm sorry for anyone listening to this later. Clearly, not a popular stream title on a live stream or on a gaming stream apparently. But I had to go live for my own sanity, if nothing else. I don't. I don't really think I have any more wind in that than me. That any more wind in me than that. I don't see anyone coming in, hang out and chat. Haven't even seen anyone pop in. So I'm just gonna let my depression guide me and be okay with it because I absolutely should just be completely depressed by all of this. It's the only rational feeling. If you looked at everything through an objective mirror, it is fucking depressing. So I'm just gonna ride that wave into the end of this stream here, and you know, it keeps me consistent as much as possible. I streamed, basically when I got home and sat down, and I put the message out that I wouldn't be able to stream at normal time today, etc. I don't know what to expect, guys. I don't know if tomorrow exists any given day, not just from a suicidal perspective, because again, and I say that meaning logically. Again, that is a logical diagnosis that life is not something I should desire, and that I don't have a rational escape from it. Um, but not just that, but like I from the shit that happened in January on fucking Emerald Chat, I just started getting over being afraid if I was gonna be arrested for that. Now this bitch does this shit, and there's no reason I should be arrested for it, but like just it's genuinely been like every 2 months this type of bullshit is happening lately. I just keep an eye on the news, guys. That's one thing I can say. Because I tell you, if they try to arrest me, it's gonna be big. Fucking sure of that. So done. And frankly, people can think whatever. I'm such a bad motherfucker, piece of shit, because I'm saying like, yeah, you motherfuckers, I'm just gonna make it a real fucking bad problem if you ever fucking try to arrest me at this point. But like, They fucking created me. Their laws, their bullshit did this. This is the response. They're not responding to criminal behavior. This behavior is the response to their criminal bullshit. We've had historically societies that dealt with all of these issues. We like to call ourselves the height of society. We're such modern society. We're the worst that society has to offer through history. Just this whole, not just generation, but generations, the entirety of modern generations, past 2 centuries, is just the worst of humanity. And we're not getting better. Really, really can't wait for the world, at least for humanity. Whatever Armageddon's coming, like the Earth's still gonna be here. Earth's been through a number of cataclysmic events, possibly from terraforming. Uh, I don't know if humanity might, maybe the great uprising of his people or whatever prophecy you want to listen to is actually us going to yet another new terraform planet. But I'm pretty sure that if we really look at a lot of mythologies and put a lot of pieces together, that Earth isn't humanity's first home, that humans aren't the first version of humans, and that Earth won't be the last planet that we destroy. But that probably says a lot about what we need to know about ourselves. Um, and I don't really know what that means because, like, I have always abhorred the idea of, well, sin is in humanity's nature, but most species, probably throughout the galaxy, don't evolve. Well, I mean, obviously, we assume we're the only sentient species at all. But let's assume there are other sapient species in the galaxy as well. Not sentient, sapient, at least sapient. Most species, in fact, pretty much to the exclusion of humanity, as far as we know, do not evolve to a point where they create such complex machinery that they are using more of their natural resources around them than they are actually capable of consuming and using for the sake of vanity and self service. Most of nature doesn't act that way. Most of nature doesn't build coal mines. They figure out ways to keep warm. Whatever's happened to humanity, we have decided that we need to be excessive, that we can't be just natural, we can't just live as humans on a planet. We have to not just be the dominant species even, but we have to at the most basic at the most basic of building a large hut that can have multiple rooms, more elevated and more luxurious than anything else on the planet. And we start extracting resources and learning how to manipulate them, how to we specifically call it I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of, but if you heard the word in any other context, you would hear it as like wasting this thing. Um, you know, we needed to go faster than our legs can carry us, and then how as faster than other animals could carry us, um, and faster than chariots could carry us. We had to go faster. We had to go bigger. We had to have more. We had to have more space. We needed not just the cave, not just the small hut. We needed the penthouse apartment for one person to live in. Nothing in nature does that outside of humanity. So when compared to nature, there really is like this very incorrect direction that humanity goes. And when I think about the narratives of everything that people consider more science fiction theology to more mainstream theology, there's a lot of agreement. Something brought us to this planet. Something warned us to take care of this planet and to not break certain rules so that they could guide us very strictly on this planet. We decided not to really listen to that very much. And then they said, okay, you can't really be in charge of the planet anymore. And then we kept fucking up, and they tried to fucking kill us out several times with floods and fires, etc. And we kept saying, tee hee, giggle, giggle. We're parasites, but like actually, literally parasites. Um, yeah, humanity, like, maybe is actually not good. And that's the craziest thing. Is like we talk about how humanity commits so many sins and shit that just don't exist in nature because we do so many more things, and it's like maybe it's also just because humans are the worst thing in the universe. Maybe the best human is still like the universe is garbage. Imagine that Gandhi and Christ are still like the universe's garbage waste disposal. Makes you feel real fucking good, doesn't it? But I don't know. That's the kind of shit I've been thinking about a lot lately. Paranoia is a fucking bitch, so I was really hoping people would show up to chat, but it's super late. So that's gonna be all for today. I got that story out and did all sorts of stuff that are eventually gonna get seen by somebody somewhere and put on lists and stuff. But you know what? They put me on a list a long time ago, and there's no worse list they can put me on. Fucking come at me, bro. they think I'm breaking any laws, if they think that I'm dangerous, find out if it's worth my life. Think I'm dangerous enough to kill me? Cool. If not, the business with just not. There's no middle ground anymore. If it's not worth killing me, then you don't think I really did something. Keep saying I'm gonna end the stream, but that also actually requires moving. It's so fucking burnt and exhausted. Alright, guys. I should see anyone that shows up tomorrow. We should be here tomorrow. I only actually just realized it's Monday, too. That's how bad this is. That's why no one's here. Because it's not Tuesday. It's not my normal streaming time. Teehee. I was freaking out. Oh no, I'm not going to be at home on time to stream and everything. For no reason. It's not even my fucking work day for this. I should be working on drum stuff. It looks so fucking bad. Well, cool. I'm going to work on drum stuff. Bye!